Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Hi, how's everybody doing today? So, welcome to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. I'll be your host, Mark Snyderman. Today, we are fortunate to have Andrew Marson. He is the Director of Investment Sales at B6 Real Estate, and also a client and strategy specialist with Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment in New York City. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
Mark, a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so why don't we get right into it? Why don't you share your journey in the real estate? Because I think it's super interesting because it sounds like you've been in Philadelphia and now you're in sort of the New York market. So how did you get into real estate in the first place? And I know you founded, what was it called? Found Your Philly, back in the day.
I did, yes. So my first foray into real estate began in Philadelphia, actually in a property management role. And I was able to get in with a family that had a large portfolio of properties in the Rittenhouse Square area. And when the father of the family passed away and left the properties to the children, which they all inherited, they wanted to put their stamp on it. So I was able to start working on renovation projects for all the 1 and 2 bedrooms that they had. And I was able to go from a property manager to a project manager and learned how to, flip and renovate units, which was really a trying task when you're in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
We got to work with those contractors and learn how they did their work, and then was able to start doing that on my own. So I started flipping properties, got my own real estate license, and I started the Find Your Philly team, which was in Philly, and obviously doing real estate sales, doing condo conversions, residential home conversions, and then new construction. And then that led me during the COVID period to not only get licensed in Pennsylvania, but to also get licensed in New Jersey.
Okay.
I started doing real estate sales in New Jersey, and then New Jersey took me up to New York City. So now Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, I'm licensed in 3 states, doing both residential and commercial real estate. And in addition to renovating homes, I also raise capital for larger real estate construction projects as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like you've had you're taking a look at all the different facets from real estate at this point.
Yeah, when I got
What's it
into
like
it,
working in construction in Philly, like with the unions and all that kind of fun stuff?
yeah, that I thankfully I didn't have to run into too many union issues. We weren't on huge like skyrise projects, but it is one of those situations where Philly, you have to find your way of who you can trust and who you can work with, and once you find those people, you really create a great network and a great circle, and you're able to really rely on those people for all your future projects, which has been a great help.
That's great. And when did you move up? So are you up in North Jersey, New York now?
I am. I'm currently living in Hoboken, New Jersey, right across the water from Manhattan. I've been here for about 4 years plus now,
Nice.
and it's
So,
it's
so
been a
you're a COVID move, right?
yeah. I'm a COVID transplant.
Yeah.
I always loved it up here. New York City has always been a dream of mine as well. So to be able to finally make my stamp and operate in Manhattan, in addition to being here on that Jersey side, has been really rewarding, and I'm really loving the commercial aspect so far.
Yeah. And what are you seeing as the sort of the biggest difference? Because I kind of did it reverse, right? I'm a Philly guy that went to New York right after law school, lived up in Manhattan, worked North Jersey, and now came back down. So I'm a little playing a little reverse game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting the way that the two cities have. There's a bit of a synergy, in terms of those huge, densely populated East Coast cities, but Philadelphia maintains that neighborhood, that kind of
Yeah.
village, that vibe. And when you're in Manhattan, I think the closest comparison that I would make to Philly is more of Brooklyn. That collection of neighborhoods that makes up that borough is
Yeah.
really something that's tantamount to what you find in Philadelphia. Manhattan is just its own beast. I mean, I really
Yeah.
can't describe it. I have friends, I have family that live in other large cities in the U.S. and they're like, yeah, I get it. I'm in D.C. or I'm out on the West Coast,
No,
or
you don't get
it's,
it.
it's not like New York. I can promise you that.
Yeah, there really is nothing like, and I think to me one of the biggest differentials, and it's not a knock on Philadelphia people. It's just a differential in the work ethic and the speed and just the manner in which people work.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's just that pedal to the metal. Some days it just feels like you're shot out of a cannon,
Yeah.
and it's like that the whole day. I was just joking with a coworker earlier this week that there's nothing in your schooling and there's nothing in your upbringing that ever teaches you, when you wake up, you look at your phone and it's 6:20 in the morning and you think, oh my God, I'm late.
Yeah. It's what a crazy thought, right?
It's like you never thought that that would happen, but there are some
No.
days it's just like that. You just have to get going right away. People are relying on you. It's an international city, so there are
Yeah.
times where I'm working on with folks in different time zones. So if they're in Europe, maybe they've already been up, and it's their lunch hour, and they're ready to talk, and
Yeah,
it's
they're raring to go.
6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And when they get home to their family, that European culture is a little bit different, where they're offline. You're not going to hear from them. So it's either catch them at 7 o'clock in the morning, otherwise you're not going to catch them. So it is. New York is just a totally different beast, but it's so worthwhile. The connections that you can make,
Yeah.
and just the possibilities that you see when you're up here. It's really like nothing else.
So you're doing both residential projects and commercial projects. Why don't you talk a little bit about, why don't you give us, give the audience, something about one of the commercial projects you have going on maybe right now or one you just finished.
Absolutely. So in B6 real estate, it's a boutique commercial brokerage focused specifically Manhattan and the boroughs.
Mm-hmm.
We're what we call uh, asset class agnostic building brokers. Uh,
Oh,
so
interesting. There you go.
so for us, we operate in a territory model. So each director has their own portion of the city, and it doesn't matter. It could be retail, office, investment sales, multifamily, whatever it's going to be. You have to master all the knowledge of that within your territory, and you're responsible for it. So I'm heading up the sales for our Soho, Tribeca, Nolita, and World Trade Center markets here in Manhattan.
Okay.
And so for us, we have just, there's a couple of projects that are coming up where we're going to be doing just entire building sales. It's not like a retail storefront or a corner office or anything like that. It is the whole building or it's nothing. We just refer that out if it's anything less. So it's great. They're large price points. It's big fish. It's big game hunting. And we have a couple of those coming up here for the spring market. And it's a huge dive into zoning. It's a huge dive into the
Yeah.
ins and outs of every aspect of a building. I'd say that's the biggest difference between commercial and residential. You can learn how to build a condo. You can learn how to put up a building, a brownstone or a row home, but it's not like putting
Mm-hmm.
up, a 40, 50 foot or 40 or 50 story tower that requires there's so many intricacies that go within that. And you have to know every single aspect about it as the broker. So just putting in that legwork and making sure you know everything that a client could potentially ask or a problem that they'll run into in the course of their due diligence. It seems daunting, but it's really rewarding once you figure that all out.
Yeah. Where are you getting a lot of that education from?
I'm very fortunate. My broker, Paul Massey, was the head of Massey Knackle, which was one of the premier brokerage
Okay.
for commercial sales from the early 2000s all the way up to 2014, 15. So he's the head CEO and broker of my brokerage. And we have a couple of other senior directors that are just incredibly knowledgeable and could not be any kinder to dispel their wisdom that they have and help you out with the stuff that they've seen in the market or the way they've approached it in their territory. So it really is a collaborative effort. And I really have to credit that from the territory model of how we operate. There's no one's stepping on anyone's toes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to watch your back to see who else in that office is trying to work on the same project that I might or try to get that client. It's completely separate. It makes it collaborative and it makes you root for one another. So when someone has a problem solving issue, everyone joins in to help solve it and everyone keeps moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really interesting model because I know that's a big problem with a lot of the commercial brokerage houses is, everybody's kind of, you're playing in the same sandbox all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of who stole whose toy, right?
Yeah, it
So
really
being
is.
able to share the toys and know that you have your own sandbox to play in is really important.
Exactly. Yeah. So that it keeps us collaborative. It keeps a friendly, team structured environment, and it helps with problem solving. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's I think the biggest benefit of what we offer being a boutique brokerage. A select number of directors. Once that territory is covered, it's that person's, and everyone is there, cheering each other on.
Yeah, and it sounds like you have good mentorship as well, which, I think, to me is probably one of the most important things in any career you're going to go into. It doesn't matter what it is, having that, being able to go to somebody that can be your mentor and kind of show you the ropes and show you through how to get around. I mean, a lot of it you've kind of done on your own, like you bootstrapped your way through things, kind of the way I have in my career. And then, but you do need those people along the way that will kind of help pull you up.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things when you're in an entrepreneurial, kind of going for it on your own, you only know what you know. It
Yeah.
takes someone to be there to stretch you out of your boundary and bring you into a different level of knowledge for you to be able to grow. So it can be tough when you're operating on your own. You have so much self-reliance that it can be difficult to want to reach out for help. But it's
Hmm.
so rewarding when you do that and you can learn something that, yeah, you frankly just didn't know before. You learn a different way to do it, or you get a more efficient process out of it. So it's funny. You're kind of put in a room of other entrepreneurs, and then you get to collaborate. So I think it's a great space to operate in.
That's great. And on the residential side, what are you seeing? Like, are you seeing? Yeah, because I mean, Manhattan always has is kind of its own world. I always say in real estate, it's a
Yeah,
bit insulated from the effects that a lot of other cities see. So
yeah.
interesting because you can see, you can kind of give some perspective on, Philly, North Jersey, New York, kind of give some insight to the audience on that.
For sure. It's interesting to see the way that things have transformed. I'll take it back to say the COVID period
Yeah.
up until now is, New York is very well insulated, but we saw how heavily that was hit during COVID with all the COVID deals that buildings were offering for
Hmm.
rentals, folks that were a mass exodus out of the city. That's starting to come back in Manhattan for sure. And I think there's a lot of, flexing the financial muscle of being one of the financial capitals of the world here. I think interest rates have really switched the buying process. There's a lot of cash transactions now. So we're still seeing that in
Really?
New York. Yeah, we're seeing that specifically in North Jersey. I
Yeah.
think that the return to office call has kept folks more central to the metro area here. So that North Jersey, Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens, still facilitating,
Hmm.
the housing structure of folks commuting to Manhattan. I've seen a big drop off from where folks used to take their New York money and go down to Philly and say,
Yeah.
okay, if I can get a similar vibe down here and my money goes 2, 3 times as far, I'll make that switch. So there's been a bit of a lull in the Philadelphia market as the New York market has returned. I think we're starting to find a balance between that. But it's one of those things where, there's a buyer demand no matter where you go. If you price it right, or if you're making the right product, if you build it, they will come. But I
Hmm.
think it's made smarter construction. I think it's made contractors and construction teams really put a lot more thought into their design and their development. And I think it's made for a smarter broker. When the real estate market takes a dip, you see a lot of people get out of the industry who are more of the part timers, the folks who maybe have a network they thought that they could glean a little something off while they
Sure.
did another side hustle. And it makes you operate with brokers who are in it to make this their full-time thing and to make them the best, most experienced brokers that they can be. So I think we're seeing that up and down the corridor. New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, we're getting just a better professional. We're getting a better product. We're getting more thoughtful design. And whether that pushes prices up with the interest rates that we have remains to be
Hmm.
seen. But I think over time we're going to find that balance, and the buyers will be there.
Cool. And how have you seen technologies changed being a broker these days?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Real estate has been one of the most impervious
Yeah.
industries when it comes to adopting new technology. I would say it's, I think, a pretty gate kept industry, both on the commercial side and even on the residential, on the broker side.
Yeah.
Um, I'm seeing a couple of firms that are developing some AI technologies that have looked to reach out and get some info from us, which we've been collaborative with. I think technology is really moving us forward where we're able to offer so much more from a smartphone technologies aspect. Folks are
Hmm.
really able to do a lot of their own legwork, whether it's searching for homes, 3D tours, video walkthroughs of properties, and they're able to get a really good sense of the market before they're working with a broker, or having that broker can operate a little bit differently, knowing that they don't have to be so many places physically in order to facilitate their clients' transactions. So I think we're going to keep trending in that direction. There's a lot that's going to be offered where folks can see more of things before they actually step foot through that door. But
Yeah.
ultimately you're not going to buy a place without getting the feel of it, without knowing, how your furniture is going to fit or the way you want to design it. Of course, you want to have an inspection, and of course, you just want to see the place. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's still going to be that aspect. There's always going to be an in-person aspect to it. Technology and AI could never fully replace those things. But I think there's so much room to grow. And we're going to get there, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's always interesting because I mean, I'm a lawyer, so there's a lot, another industry that is, kind of has pushed technology off as far as we can push it.
Yeah.
I think, real estate and legal are pretty tied together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but, it's funny. So I look at like, real estate, I think, the ability to search markets and understand what's going on in the market before you actually contact a broker is so hugely valuable, both to the broker and to the individual because you just have a better sense of things and you're not going in blind saying, "Hey, can you find me a one bedroom in the Upper East Side for $150,000?"
Yeah. I think
Sure.
Yeah, we're able to set expectations a little more realistically
Yeah.
once folks are able to dabble in that market. And then it goes both ways, right? There's the way the consumer or the client is going to be using the technology, and there's
Yeah.
probably the way that we in the industry operationally are using technology. So I
Yeah.
think, there's, on the legal side, there's so much paperwork, then there's so much disclosure, and there's so much due diligence that you have to go through. So if there's a way for AI or technology to automate some of those things and make those processes just a little bit simpler for us, that saves us so much more time to be able to dedicate directly to our clients. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I'm not resistant to it. I think it's a great thing for all of us. And I don't think there's a fear of needing to be replaced at any point.
Yeah. I guess the one question we ask everybody on the podcast is, what keeps you up at night with respect to your business?
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of things.
Yeah.
And that stretches across a couple different metrics. But I think for me, the biggest thing that I think about is the way that trends change within the market, the way their
Hmm.
consumers have certain levels of demand, certain areas that they want to be in, and certain expectations that they have, and then how the market meets that. So for me, I think there's so much thought that I put into the design, the next big deal that you want to get into. Is there an area that you're scouting out? How do you pinpoint those things? I would say that overall, that's what keeps me up at night, is not just what am I doing now, but what's going to be next.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a client-based business, they always say as soon as you close a deal, really you just got fired. Right. So
Yeah.
you have to start from scratch almost every single time. And so it's the ability to take a look at what you're doing with your clients on a daily basis, but also know what's the next step. Where do I go from here once I accomplish that? And being able to service those things equally and make sure that you're being the best broker, or the best builder, or the best designer that you can possibly be, while still servicing and meeting everybody's needs along the way.
Do you have a project that you want to highlight at this point? There's something
Uh,
that you're working on right now that you say, wow, really would love to have people hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there are a couple of projects that are coming up in Philly that actually they're near completion and will be delivered by probably the end of Q2.
Oh,
And there's
great.
also a great penthouse that I just put on the market here in Jersey City just last
Okay.
night. And those clients are actually buying one of the properties down in Philly too. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, so it's great just to see that there is a true synergy, not just from me being able to go up and down the Eastern Corridor, but that I'll actually have those connections from city to city, and to see the transience of people moving from space to space. So yeah, it's great to have that. And yeah, if people do want to come check it out, we've got some great city views from the roof deck of this new condo, and it's absolutely immaculate when you're looking from the Upper West Side all the way down to the World Trade Center.
And how would where would they see that at? You have a
Uh,
website for that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, obviously you can take a look either Streeties, you can take a look at Zillow, 650 Montgomery Street, Jersey City, New Jersey, and we'll be there this weekend if you want to come check it out.
Awesome. So, what advice would you give to an aspiring young real estate entrepreneur?
The best that I could possibly say is, no matter what you're doing in terms of the work that you're putting either into your business or in the field, always have faith that that work is going somewhere. It's one of those industries where maybe you'll do a full day of work and there wasn't an end of day result that you're receiving from that, but
Hmm.
you have to know that you're still moving forward at the end of the day. So when you're in an entrepreneurial space, or you're in, the real estate field, where sometimes it's just sink or swim, there's a lot of times where you're going to feel like I just did all this work, or I just worked with whoever I was with the entire day, and I just don't know if this is happening for me. You have to have the trust in what you're doing, that you're moving forward, and that work will reward you at some point down the road. So just keep that faith and keep pushing forward, and it's going to work out for you.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
What if you were to go back? Is that the same advice you'd give to yourself when you were younger?
I would absolutely give that. I've had moments where I'm up, moments when I'm down,
Yeah.
and if I could have given myself a little bit more confidence, I think I could have been more efficient with my time.
Yeah.
I would say that too is don't dwell on any failures, and don't dwell on anything that's bringing you down too much, because there's always a brighter side if you can pivot and keep moving forward in the industry. So yeah, I sometimes need to take better heed of my own advice,
Yeah.
but now that I got enough years behind me, I can listen to myself and really propel myself forward now.
You need a little bit of that goldfish mentality, right? You
Exactly.
forget it after 5 seconds or whatever Google says.
Yeah, or I'd say like my golden retriever kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a golden retriever.
Never, never.
I actually say like, I have a golden doodle, and I would say, if I ever come back, if I come back, if there's reincarnation, that's what I want to be when I come back. She's
Yeah.
got the best life in the history of time.
I was gonna say there's nothing that's bothering you. You're gonna be a kept individual,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're just like living a life of bliss. So I'm with you on
That
that.
sounds fantastic, doesn't it?
It
Just
really, yeah.
just like what we do every day.
Yeah. Wake up and just wonder
Still the
what to
same.
eat. That's all you gotta do. Go back to bed whenever you need it.
This has been super fun. Do you have any last words you'd like to give to the audience?
Yeah, I would say, check us out. There's B6 Real Estate Advisors here in Manhattan. My handles on Instagram are going to be dep.re, the Department of Real Estate. So you can catch everything that's happening in Philadelphia, New Jersey, and New York on that. And yeah, I really appreciate the time. It's been such a pleasure coming on here and chatting with you.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming on today. And this is another episode of the Think Factory podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.